All right, everybody, welcome. We are very excited to be with you today and share a professional development as part of the FLATE Professional Development Series. We are having a PD on how to create work-based learning opportunities. But before we start, I just want to have a quick overview about what FLATE is, for those of you that don't know. So FLATE's goal is to drive Florida's world-class manufacturing workforce education and training. And we do that through curriculum reform and development, outreach and student recruitment, professional development, which we're doing today, and technical education and research. These are the colleges that we work with across the state. So we have a close relationship with all of these. We also work with tech colleges and high schools, but our main focus is with the state colleges that have manufacturing or ET programs. Some of the activities that we do are do a lot of outreach activities, work with schools to develop new curriculum. We have the FLATE Educator Awards, which we're really excited about, and the deadline for that is February 11th. If you aren't familiar with the FLATE Awards, please let us know. You can go to our website and learn more about it, or reach out to one of us, and we'll be happy to show you how to learn more about them. We also convene the ET College Forum, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Our newest product is the data dashboard that we're really excited about. I don't have a link to it in this presentation, but if you want to go to manufacturingmattersfl.org, all one word, manufacturingmattersfl.org, you can see the latest update. We're still working on it, but it's in pretty good shape right now and something that we're going to continue to build upon. We also have mentor programs to help, certainly to help, schools or maybe someone new in education get connected across the state with other ET instructors. Okay, so some of the upcoming, so we're here today, but we have some other upcoming professional development as part of the FLATE Webinar Series. On February 22nd, we've got Recruiting Strategies and Best Practices. On February 27th, Cybersecurity for Manufacturing Part 2. So this is a 4-part series. We've already done 1, which you can look at the recording online and join us live for Part 2 and Part 3. Part 3 is on March 22nd. March 24th is Robots for AI and Industry 4.0. That'll be on March 24th. And then April 18th is Creating Videos Using Classroom Projects and Student Success Stories. We also have a couple of more that aren't listed here. We'll have the dates to you soon. So some of the other upcoming events is March 9th. We have Mechatronics 101 for high school workshop. I know Marilyn may want to touch on that one. On March 30th, we have 30th, 31st is the Spring ET Forum at Daytona Beach State College. Again, you can sign up on the FLATE website if you're interested in attending that. On April 20th is the FANUC Robot Day at the College of Central Florida. And on June 12th to the 16th is the FLATE Summer Teacher Academy at St. Pete College. All these events you can learn more about on our website. So these are 3 of our main, 4 of our main resources: the FLATE.org, madeinflorida.org, the FLATE Wiki, and then we also have the monthly newsletter. And we will add the fourth resource, major resource that we have, and that's the dashboard. So again, that's Manufacturing Matters FL. Thank you. Somebody put it in the chat. So manufacturingfl.org. All right, now it's my pleasure to hand off the rest of this presentation to Dr. Marilyn Barger, who's working with the team on delivering how to create a work-based learning opportunities. Marilyn.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ernie, and welcome again, everyone, to this session. We're really excited today. We've got 3 really interesting guests. Well, hopefully the third one will show up. He's missing in action right now, but we'll get started with Lee Chipps-Walton. Some of you might know Lee. He's at the Department of Education and been working on some special projects there in the CTE world. And he's going to provide some information about just a general overview of work-based learning and sort of what counts under that umbrella, and some great resources that the Department of Education has put together and now has posted online. So I'll turn it over to Chip, and then we'll be moving to our industry panel after we get through these resources and information from the DOE.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barger. My name is Chipps-Walton, as was said, and I work for the Division of Career and Adult Education. And we're going to be looking at three things: work-based learning, the spectrum and definition of work-based learning, the value and impact, the outcomes of work-based learning, why we think it's so important within our division, and resources that can help support it. So I'm giving a high-level view here, the trees, and then everyone that comes after me is going to be looking at all of I'm the forest. They're the beautiful trees and branches and leaves. So I'm a high-level view of work-based learning. So what is work-based learning? Let's start with a definition. So in statute, we have a definition, Perkins, which is the federal fund source for career and technical education. That has also a definition which matches very closely with the state definitions. And I won't read the whole definition, but I'll summarize it as this. It's a three-parter. It's firsthand work. So not watching someone else do work. It is the student doing that work. It is building relationships with community and industry professionals. It's about building social capital. It's about extending that social network of the student. And it's also about classroom integration. It is aligned with curriculum and instruction. It is standards-driven work, work-based learning altogether. So doing work, building relationships that matter for careers, and connecting it back to the classroom. And it is not just one type of opportunity. One of the biggest points I'd like to make in my couple slides here is that work-based learning is not one thing. It's a whole spectrum of opportunities. And I would like to think that there's a place somewhere on this spectrum, or multiple places for each business that you can connect with locally. So on the very left-hand side, we have things that are not true work-based learning because they don't meet the three-point definition of firsthand work, engagement with industry and community professionals, and alignment with the classroom and instruction. It's things like career fairs, interest inventories, mock interviews, guest speakers, job shadowing, mentoring, informational interviews, company tours. This side of the work-based learning spectrum can be a great place for businesses to start. So they get to know you as an educator, as an instructor. They get to know your students. They build that trust over time and realize that these students aren't immature, that these are mature workers that can really act as a pipeline for their future. And so to start with the left, build your way up to the right-hand side, which is the true work-based learning. That's things like school-based enterprises where students are actually running a business on campus, service learning where students are going off campus and they're meeting real community needs, they're volunteering, guided entrepreneurship where students are running, they're offering services or making goods, and they have an industry community professional or a teacher that are able to kind of guide them through that process of running a business. Capstone or industry projects where the students are acting out the actual tasks of a career field, and they are doing things that are aligned with curriculum and instruction, and they're super hands-on. They're solving a problem, they're answering an important question, they're brainstorming, they're collaborating, they're working together. And virtual and simulated work-based learning where the students on campus have a full work environment, a simulated one where they might have to punch in and out. Individual students might have different positions within kind of this mock company. They're acting out the whole process of work, but doing it on campus. And then we have some of the stuff that's much more familiar to many people when they think of work-based learning, which is apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, internships, on-the-job training, clinicals, practicums. That's the formal stuff. And that definitely meets that three-part definition of work-based learning. But why are we having this conversation? Why does it matter? It matters for, we've got two slides here. This first slide is why it matters to students, and the second slide is why it matters to businesses. So for students, what does work-based learning offer? Why is it so important that every student that graduates high school in Florida or graduates from one of our technical colleges or state colleges, in my opinion, should have experienced a work-based learning opportunity? Is because it of course builds real-world skills, those technical and employability skills. It improves student education perceptions. This is particularly important in high school, where we care a lot about whether a student graduates high school. And students that are engaged in work-based learning are more likely to graduate. They're more likely to have a higher GPA. They're more likely to perform better on standardized tests for things that are completely unassociated with that work-based learning experience. But there's this spillover benefit where students start to realize maybe school is important to my future. Maybe it does matter to my career, when they have opportunities within that education that are, explicitly and very clearly in their mind connected with their future. And it increases their competitiveness of their resumes and their applications. When they're able to put that they've had an internship, that can make a big difference for more opportunities and doors opening up. It offers that firsthand career exploration where they can try out different jobs, some long-term over, multiple semesters, and some, very short-term. And they can get that firsthand or secondhand look into an occupation that they can't really get by, reading something online or any other means. And that can be that thing where they say, this is made for me, or they can say, you know what, now I realize that's not the kind of career that I thought it was. And of course, they build that social capital. It's not just what you know, it is who you know that matters so much for getting a job. And we want students to know people in the right places in industry that are connected with good jobs, because that improves their outcomes. On the right-hand side of the slide are some things that I've already said, like it improves graduation rates and GPA and test scores. And they have students that have participated in work-based learning are more likely to have a higher starting salary and more likely to be employed. So all of the good things that we want for our students. And it's not just good for students, it, of course, excellent for businesses as well, where they get a more talented and diverse workforce pipeline. They get their name out there in the community, where classes of students in high schools and colleges are getting to know their business name and building a positive reputation in the community. And within their community, they're building a stronger work culture of community service, which can be associated with higher levels of retention. And there are small financial incentives as well that are emerging, like a tax credit for post-secondary internships, which I can answer more questions about later if people want to put that in the chat, and I can link you to things. So lower position vacancy rates, higher job commitment and engagement rates for employees, faster time to employee full productivity, and lower training and recruitment costs, all things that businesses, of course, care about. And at the Department of Ed, we're trying to put out resources that can be useful in this process. We've got things on our website, which I'll try to throw in the chat once I stop talking. Work-based learning manual, work-based learning quality framework and needs assessment, different templates that can be used, and information on some financial programs like reimbursement of workers' compensation expenses for students that are 18 years of age and younger, post-secondary internship tax credits, and then resources of webinar recordings that we've hosted related to work-based learning. And then a brand new one for us, which I'll also try to put in the chat, is we have now launching imminently a new career planning system that contains also a work-based learning coordination system. So over the next few months, we're going to be rolling out a brand new website related to work-based learning coordination, where businesses will be able to post on there like a job posting site, different opportunities that they're willing to participate, that full spectrum that we talked about with work-based learning, simple, very short-term, 15-30 minute kind of Zoom calls, up all the way through, multi-year cooperative education and apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. much more in depth. And it will have all of the tools that are necessary for supporting high quality work-based learning. So it'll have student reflections and student performance assessments and time tracking and training agreement templates, training plan templates, all of that good stuff. And very excited to see this system that will enable the work-based learning to be much easier, faster, and over time we can build up a significant database of industry and community professionals that are willing to give back to education and also to receive the benefits of working with students. And then I put some references because I made some evidence-based claims and try to always back that up. So that's some of the citation for the benefits of work-based learning. And now I am going to pass it back to Dr. Barger. I'm going to check the chat, see if there's anything I need to respond to, and throw in a couple links. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thanks so much, Lee. That was great, and I really invite everyone on the call, the educators especially, and our industry panelists, of course, to take a look at some of those resources now available on the Florida Department of Education website. Lots of fresh new information to help get these kinds of programs going within the schools. And I especially enjoyed the part of breaking down the kind of spectrum of work-based learning, from just those exposure ideas, which we wouldn't call work-based learning per se, but moving into the real hands-on in the workplace opportunities. And they're all important, and they're, like Lee said, great places to start at the lower end of that particular slide, a diagram. But the ultimate, of course, is getting students to experience what it's like to go to work and explore careers they think they're interested in. And like you said, they never know. We never know. Many of us changed along the way as well. So now we are going to move to our two industry partners. Teresa, did Pete make it?
I don't see him yet.
I don't see him yet either. So I guess we'll be starting with Len. From, is it Azimuth?
Azimuth, that's correct.
Technology down in Naples, Florida, on the southwest portion of our state. And we're going to start with him telling us a little bit about his company and his own career path and what he does there in Naples. So Len, I'll let you take it away, and then we'll come back around and talk about your opportunities with the school district there and students in your area.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. Actually excited to be part of this. It's near and dear to our company's heart, what we're discussing today, because it's such a big part of what we do in the community. My name is Len Zeiser. I'm a CEO and founder of Azimuth Technology. Actually lived in Naples since 1974. This is my family's 7th company in manufacturing. In Naples in Southwest Florida. A lot of people don't realize that things have been being made in Naples for a long time, and lots of different things over the years. Came down from Indianapolis and with the family, and went through all the public schools in Naples, from elementary all the way through high school. So Azimuth Technology is actually a contract manufacturer. We specialize in machining metal components for the defense industry, the defense-related products. So think of a name that is out there that we've heard on TV lately, and most likely it's one of our customers that we make parts for. We kind of like to call ourselves the Intel Inside. So we are the Oz behind the curtain. We don't go out and publicize to people what we do, because we just want to be part in the background, making the critical components for the parts around the United States. We have over 135 customers worldwide. We're currently in over 105,000 square feet of manufacturing space, 260 CNC machines. That's probably one of the largest machine manufacturers here in the state of Florida. We have quite a few CNC machines, and CNC stands for computer numeric control. So those are the machines that actually make everything from the metal parts or the plastic parts in your monitor and your TV to the wheels on your car. We employ over 250 full-time employees here in Naples. They're both men and women, of course. I'd say it's almost 50-50, which is unique for a manufacturing company. Women have become a really large part of our labor force in machining. Don't tell the men, but they're a little bit more reliable and meticulous about their work. We have a lot of Spanish speaking or second language, English second language. We do not require our employees to speak English, and therefore we have quite a few, at least 30% that don't even speak English, and we have plenty of translators. And what's amazing, I was just going through a bunch of resumes today, but these are doctors and engineers from their countries. It could be Venezuela or Colombia or Cuba or Laos or Vietnam. Amazing people with amazing careers. Obviously, they don't have the licenses here in this country, and they become great part of our workforce. So that's a little bit about the Azimuth technology and what I do here. My family is entrepreneurial. We like to start companies and build them up and be part of them in the community. A lot of those companies are still here today in Collier County.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Len. How exciting. I had no idea the company was so big when you first introduced it to me. That sounds great. And Pete has joined us. Yay, Pete. Are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear me?
We can. So Pete Sirac is from Seal Dynamics. And so Pete, we're just introduce yourself and what you've done, your little bit of your career path and what you do at Seal Dynamics and what your company does.
Gotcha. So I'm Vice President of Quality here at Seal Dynamics, and we're a large commercial aircraft parts manufacturer. In particular, what we do here in Tampa is we research and develop or reverse engineer aircraft parts. So all your big operators like your Deltas, your Lufthansas, your Emirates Airs, they'll come to Seal Dynamics and ask us to provide them with a better cost solution to some of their parts that maybe they're purchasing from like your Boeings and your Airbus, your Honeywells, or your Goodriches. So we'll reverse engineer those parts if they're in our wheelhouse and the money makes sense. Obviously, we're not going to spend time and effort on a part they're only buying like 2 a year, but we can see how much the industry's buying those parts across the board. And so if that makes sense as a good investment, we'll do that, get it approved through the FAA, which is one of the values that we provide to our customers. We can get that approved through the FAA and then write our own airworthiness tag so they can put the product on the aircraft. So that's what we do here in Tampa. It's not as large a facility as Len was talking about having 200-300 people. We're about 40 people right now, and so our involvement in academics or academia in the Tampa Bay area is relative to our size and what we do. I'm heavily involved with the academic advising committees for the engineering technology programs over at HEC as well as SPC. And I chair the workforce development committee for Bay Area Manufacturers Association, which does has a lot of support for workforce development and education in the form of scholarships and things of that nature. And then through that and through FLATE, as well as my own personal endeavors, I'm highly involved with local academics and showing young people that there are alternatives to having a career, a successful and lucrative career without necessarily going to college. That there are a lot of opportunities in manufacturing for people that only have a high school diploma. Maybe they get some post-secondary certifications or some training, but a college degree is not necessary to get a high-paying job and a fulfilling one, quite frankly. I know a lot of my people in my teams and our teams in general, it's really nice when you can get on an aircraft and see your parts, you know. But we're involved with education all the way from primary or, up to secondary education and post-secondary college. We've adopted a local Title I elementary school that we're heavily involved in, and we promote other manufacturers to get involved with local schools as well. I have the opportunity on several occasions, as well as get other people, help organize other people going into schools and teaching on site, whether it's like for the Great American Teach-In or just because they want someone to come and talk about aerodynamics or manufacturing or some other really cool aspect of the work that we do on a regular basis. Or sometimes they want to learn more about what we do here. And so we'll organize a tour, or through Bay Area Manufacturing Association, we'll organize tours of other facilities too. We have some incredible manufacturers here in the Tampa Bay area, some that only do their work here out of the entire world. The only place you'll find is here in Tampa Bay. So that's always it's always a wonder getting to see those operations and how they do these things. So that's in a nutshell. I grew up in the Tampa Bay area, graduated from Leto High School, did some time in the service, went to Hillsborough Community College myself, transferred to a four-year university, got my bachelor's and then subsequently my master's degree in aerospace engineering. I didn't have to pay for a dime of it. My employer paid for it for the most part, and scholarship prior to that. So there are definitely some cost-effective ways for getting an expensive education, but just to say it's not necessary. I hope that sums it up for you. You're on mute, Marilyn.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. You slipped over into the second question, so I'm going to loop back
I'm sorry.
to Len now. And he introduced himself and his company, and I'll ask him to talk about his interactions with the schools down in the Southwest Florida. Len?
Yeah, I think, the first question I always would think about is, why do companies want to make an investment in the internship or work-based training? Number one, it is a responsibility of companies like ours to give back to the community, to the education, to Collier County, to get involved in education, if it's public or private education. Our goal, with working with the schools is first and foremost is to get students in here to have their first real-time experiences in any job. It could be a lot of these kids have never even worked at any place in their life, not even mowing a lawn or delivering papers. So it's important, that we give those opportunities so they can have a job, they can experience a real job side by side with our workers. Why do we do it? We're recruiting for the future. Today, we have over a dozen students that worked with us through the internship program that are now full-time employees. They're engineers. Some have gone off to college. Some have come straight out of high school and come to work for us. So a little selfishly, it's a baked-in workforce for us. A lot like Pete, our company gets involved with Collier County Public Schools. I'm on 4 or 5 different NAF academies, their advisory boards. Collier County's done a really great job of being very, very active in the academies. Of course, we have our people go out into the schools and work with the solar go-karts or robotics programs. It's a great sense of pride for them. Obviously, it's a little competition. The employees that represent each schools are always making sure that their team wins. So that's a lot of fun. Getting involved in donating, even monetarily, is important to these schools. Obviously, as much resources as Collier County has, it's important that private sector also contributes to the expenses that are outside of the typical day-to-day education for them. Going into the classroom, we do go into the classroom. I actually teach a course on how to write a resume and how to fill out an application and how to do an interview. We actually do participate in mock interviews, which are really important for young people. These are, I assume a lot of different counties have that, but our county does a really good job of those mock interviews, getting young people ready for the real life interview experience. And then lastly, tours. I have 2 tours this month. We usually take anywhere between 60 and 100 kids through the factory, at least every other month. It's exciting for the kids, but it's also exciting for our workforce to have young people walk through and have our workforce share what they do on a day-to-day basis. It's really exciting. And our goal is not just to be Azimuth, but all the other great companies in Collier County, like Pete. It's amazing. A lot of people don't realize how much is going on in Collier County for manufacturing, and to get the young people to understand that. And if we can keep them in this community, we're super happy.
Oh, thanks a lot, Lynn. That was great. Lots of interactions. Let me ask you a quick question. How do you who do you reach out to get in contact for those tours?
Most of the, because I'm involved with so many of the public high schools here, most of them come and reach out to me, or I'm in meetings. Collier County does have a portal for internships. It's sad to say that there's more companies, more jobs available from private companies than there are students that are accepting the internships. I've always been a little disappointed with that. You'd hope that those would all get filled. I think it's important when we're recruiting interns that we work with the teachers. The people that are on this call are critical to us. If you, because we work closely with the teachers, they know our expectations of our interns, and we wouldn't want them to refer over an intern that would be set up for failure for whatever reason that might be, and maybe they just don't want to put the time into the job. So we work really closely with the teachers, with the county. I always, I think I was telling Marilyn earlier, they seem to find us really quickly, and we do interns. Anybody that's 16 years old and up through college. I can tell you this is intern season right now. We are looking at a ton of different young people. The college kids are smart. They're lining up their positions today for the summer, and then the high school kids will be coming here like usual. They're slow to get off the stick, but we'll see them pretty soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pete. How about you? How do you make those connections? Is it with the teachers or the school district or CTE people at the schools? Do you do it through BAMA? Or anyway, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, all of them.
All of the above.
Yeah. I found out that that there are only a handful of schools. There's only been one school that as an organization gets it with regards to connecting employers or companies with prospective students for internships. And that was a school when I was living up in New England that I would work with, and they really got it. They really made it easy to hire students out of their college. The other ones make it they make it seem like a chore, or make it extremely difficult. But and so what I do is I connect to students via their teachers, via the program directors. Shirley Dobbins does a really good job of connecting me with students. Sid over at St. Pete College. Just being heavily involved in the academics too. I get to meet those students on those every opportunity I get to go and talk to like the physics club or engineering club or something like that. Every one of those is really an opportunity for me to interview a possible intern, right? And if students don't think that's what's going on, they need to learn that that's what's going on, right? Also, there's a Tampa Bay engineering internship nonprofit. They arrange. In fact, I just got a notification today of they do like these mixers between students, college students, and employers. They do that twice a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. That's a great way. I've met some really good candidates that way as well. And then just, word of mouth too. If I post something online or on Handshake via the college, if the students are keeping their eyes open, they'll see stuff that way as well.
Okay, great, thanks. That Tampa Bay internship mixer, I've been attended some of those, and it's a really interesting kind of fast-paced way for students to network with companies. It's been a great event. Times I went was way back when it was held at Kelly Engineering over in Tampa.
Yep.
And I thought it was a great model for bringing students of all levels, not just the university students, which of course were there in their suits and ties, but the high school students also came, and also students from the community colleges. And Ernie, it's like a speed networking kind of event where the companies stand up and talk about their company briefly and the kind of work they might be looking for, something specific. And then if it's the same, and after they all get done with that, it's just like Pete said, it's just a mixer. And typically the students have their resume and maybe have a company idea that they're looking for a particular position for summer or a semester or something like that, and have a handful of resumes and off they go on their own. So it's a great kind of event, I think, for putting them together and as a preview to their potential work-based learning experience at some company. So that's really great. So I heard a shout out to HCC. I know that Shirley's on the line. So thanks, Shirley, for your work connecting the students directly to Pete for those opportunities in work-based learning. But anything counts. The interesting comments about it may be challenging to work through the official processes and things like Handshake. Maybe you want to talk about what Handshake does, Pete, just a minute.
So Handshake is, I think HEC is using it now too. SPC has been using it for a while. So it's just a job board for companies to post jobs. And what I've communicated to people at those schools is that unfortunately the students aren't really using it. Maybe they do an initial account creation, but they're not checking it on a regular basis. So I know that, like myself, I've reached out to students on several occasions, well, more than several occasions, about job opportunities, and I don't get so much as a, hey, got your message, not interested, And so I imagine they're missing out on a lot of opportunities when they're not perusing those things. And so I was on a committee meeting for SPC's ET program. And one of the things that I mentioned that when I was once over there at HCC talking to the career office people over there, and I think Shirley even suggested, hey, maybe they'll make it like some sort of extra credit project where they have students go and maintain their account and check it on a regular basis and somehow get extra credit. But it's important as educators that those are resources that the schools are providing to their students, but it's only as good as them actually getting on and using it.
Okay, great, thanks. So it's an online platform. Is it not just, jobs? So I know internships are jobs, but do students go there for internships as well as a permanent job? So they might go in there first, look for something for summer or semester or whatever. Okay. I believe it's also post-secondary focus. Do you know if that's true? Anybody? Are there high school students on
No.
On Handshake? Yeah, I think it's post-secondary.
That's true. It is for colleges and universities. So Florida College System institutions and universities, my understanding is that they're going to open up to technical colleges. At what point, I'm not sure. They'll remove the requirement to have a .edu email address to be able to register in the future. I don't know that they have intentions for high school students, but that's where Zella comes in.
Yeah, and that's where Zella comes in. There's another plug for the upcoming platform from at the Department of Education. All right, so go back to Len, ask if he has any other comments and any other questions. I see one we'll come back to in a moment, but Len, you have anything to say about the internships and processing? Are there ways, official ways that you work with the school districts in your area? Or do you just go in all the back doors to the students and the teachers directly?
Actually, Courtney Stallman and her group through Collier County has put a really strong program together. And that's all part of the NAF Academies, National Academy Foundation program, which is pretty formal for the internships. So when they come through the NAF, they do have to do call it a capstone project, or at least give a presentation on their experience through their internships with us, and then we have to do an exit interview paperwork, so they can get credit for their internship. It's all part of that program. So that is a formal way of doing it. I was going to mention a couple of things, on the recruiting side. Make sure, well, two things. Number one, it's really the responsibility of this group here and in the teachers to help us get out to the private sector businesses. There are so many private sector businesses. They could be as small as a 1 or 2 person firm. A lot of kids want to be architects. So there's plenty of architectural firms that are looking for young people to assist. Really, if we can get the teachers out into the community, or the program managers to go to the private companies and recruit them in. I think when they do that recruiting, I think it's really important. Lee put it up there earlier, and talking about the benefits to the employer. To us, there's a huge benefit. We're getting cheap labor. These kids are really good workers. We do our internship during summertime, and that's when our employees go on vacation. So they actually step into the shoes of our real employers. So I think the failures of internship programs a lot come from private companies feeling like it's a responsibility and a burden of these young people coming in, and they end up have them file papers or answer the phones, and it ends up being a miserable experience both for the intern and the company themselves, because there's no value either way at the end of the day. And I think creating the expectations, and I think I discussed, Marilyn, earlier with you, is we actually treat the interns coming in as real applicants, real employers. We expect their resumes to be tip-top shape. I have a red pen to make any corrections as needed, and I have a good eye for that stuff.
You're real familiar with those red pens.
Yes. If they're not dressed appropriate, we will send them home and have them come back at another time. Expectation is they're here on time, and they're treated as any other employee. If mom and dad call in sick for them or tell me that they overslept, we've been known to hang up the phone on them, because our expectation is the students are responsible for their own, and these are young kids. I mean, they could be 16, 17, 18 years old, but in some cases, obviously, as we all know, the maturity levels are in all different directions. So I think that's the important thing is for the internship program to be successful, it's got to be beneficial for everybody, and it will be very successful. We look forward to the young kids coming in and watching them grow and hopefully stay. I'm not as forward as Pete is, and I really appreciate it, but not every student needs to go to college. And I get a lot of dirty looks during the tours when I say that from the principals and the teachers, but these kids are really bright, and I don't mean to brag, but I can tell you a vast majority of my employees make a lot more money than young kids coming out of college today, with a technical skill, a trade that they can be used anywhere in the world. And both Pete and I have that ability to create those opportunities for these kids that if they want to go to Istanbul and get a job in manufacturing, there will be a position open for them in the future.
Yeah, that's great. That's a message we try to promote, and I know for sure in the community college programs to recruiting students that, come to school for a couple of years, get a lot of good skills, and make someone else pay for your education. And they will if you want to continue on to a bachelor's degree in whatever, more technical or even business and management, whatever, as long as it's related to the workforce. A really important point to share. So we do have one question here from Lee, and he's asking if you think there's anything that the DOE can do to make work-based learning easier.
I think TBIA, the Tampa Bay Engineering Internship Alliance, and that mixer that they do is a great model. I think it was 2 weeks ago, somebody, an administrator, staff at one of the community colleges here in the Tampa Bay area contacted our executive director of BAMA, reached out about internships, and she subsequently put her in contact with me. And immediately she provided me with this study or this guide or an internship, a successful internship guide, which was pages and pages long, and what appeared to be some sort of form that needed to be filled out. And when in Bama, when we're talking to manufacturers and trying to get them motivated and understand the benefits of taking on interns, for one, especially I think what the current statistic is, 75% nationwide, 73%, or even might even be higher than 75% in Florida are manufacturers that are 25 employees or less. So you got some guy or woman, I'm sorry, my apologies. You have some person that's, owner, CEO of their company. They're also the controller, the HR specialist, the faculty's, facilities person. They're the EH&S guy. They're the social engineer dude, whatever. And then you go, and this school goes and hands off all this administrative BS that they got to follow. No, just put them in contact with the students. Send them to a mixer, let them have some drinks and some food, and meet a bunch of students. Keep it simple. And then later on, after you got some students in the doors, maybe they start developing a relationship with the school. Then you come back and say, hey, you know what? Some of these students, they might be able to get some college credits for what they're doing. Here's how we can do that. And spoon feed it to them. Give them the forms already filled out, so all they have to do is sign it. That person's trying to run their business sometimes by themselves. They don't have an HR. Places like Lockheed up the road, and GE and Raytheon, and some of these other big manufacturers like Mettler Toledo that literally are hiring 60 people, at a time. They've got huge organizations of HR people that can manage that stuff. We don't. And I don't know why schools make it so difficult. I'm sorry, I got real emotional.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I do know that when I was teaching a number of years ago, and we had an internship as part of the credit program, we did have to have this paperwork associated with it. There was because we had to assign a grade, to the students for participating, and that really required some, commitment to certain skills that might be learned and reporting back, which is all important stuff, but it was very formal in order to get the information that we could give credit, even if it was pass fail. If I totally understand that piece. And I know Len talked about, well, they just come to us. So we just, provide internships to people who, make the grade and are interested in our company. And sometimes students might be able to, flip that back to their school, sort of like we do at college as experiential learning, and we get credit for a certain course, you might be able to get some credit. But for the most part, students are really looking for the experience and do it for credit when credit is needed. However, programs,
money.
those academic programs, yeah, and money, of course, definitely.
money.
The academic programs are in this little conundrum because the expectation is that the programs at the technical colleges, the community colleges, and even the academies in high school, promote those programs as having work experience within them. And so requiring that as a portion of the program really looks good on their documentation and accreditation and all of those things. So they're a little bit in a catch-22 about having it with all the paperwork versions, or just really trying to promote it with their students on this more informal basis where they just, spend some time reaching out to industry, getting industry exposed to the people, the students, and developing those relationships. So, word of mouth is a really good form of communication for these kinds of opportunities. And the students certainly talk about those experiences and opportunities to each other once the companies are part of the educational culture. So I don't know what the solution to that is, and I'm sort of glad I don't have to figure it out. But,
Can
but
I
I do
ask
know
a
that.
question to Peter and Len?
Oh, sure.
I'm not attached to like a school district. I work with youth and foster care in the greater Orlando area. And our nonprofit has a slew of like employment support services and programs. And we set kids up with paid internships and workplace learning experiences throughout the year. And we have a big push for the trade skills industry. But a lot of those businesses come back and say the kid has to be 18 plus in order to do an internship with them. What's that like on your guys' end? Are there any jobs that a minor could do that would be safe for them to do? Because that's pretty much the biggest barrier we have for the technical fields.
I'll start, Pete. I think that's probably just an internal guideline. Amber, we hire young people as young as 15. I prefer them to be 16 because I want them to drive to work, hopefully, because it's part of the whole responsibility of going to work. But I'm assuming, unless they're in some type of hazard environment, I have plenty of 16-year-old students working on machinery. It could be some of these big companies have insurance requirements. Maybe, Pete, you would think that some of these larger companies couldn't do it because of their OSHA requirements or some type of general liability insurance, but it's not a state law for sure.
Yeah. I totally agree with Len on that. There's no statutory regulatory requirement preventing any company from hiring somebody that's under 18. I think maybe under 15 it might be a problem.
Definitely.
But certainly not under 18. It's probably their own company policy for like insurance reasons, or just hey, we want people to be able to drive, or they need to be an adult because, for example, if their parent calls up and you don't respond to the parent of somebody that's a minor, that's different than when they're an adult, right? So there's it might be issues with information and things like that, and they're just like, it's going to be a lot easier if we take people 18 or older. So it might be a matter of breaking the boundaries and understanding why they have that certain policy. To be honest with you, Amber, the bigger challenge is, like, especially with companies that do any kind of defense work, is whether or not they're U.S. citizens or if they have a green card, because then, or even if they're not U.S. citizens but they have a work permit. So for example, if Len's company's doing stuff that has export controls on it, and he goes and hires somebody from Germany, or that's here on a work permit from Germany, he's got to go to the State Department and request an export license for Germany to the U.S. and back, and vice versa, because maybe they're seeing the process that's export controlled and things like that. So sometimes that's actually a bigger issue than the age.
Yeah,
I can't hire any German kids.
I'm just throwing it out there.
It is absolutely true. We are controlled by international trade arms restrictions. Pete is exactly right. That is an issue. And therefore, like Pete, probably we take these young interns through a typical hiring process. I don't require background checks because it's kind of creepy on young kids. I'd rather not know. And I do not do drug tests, although it's required to work at my factory, both those. But I skip that. But I do need to see their driver's license. That's why a lot of times 16-year-olds are important. So good point, Pete.
I like to call everyone's attention to a quote that Lee has put in the chat. The statute that permits businesses to employ students when they are working with the district, even when the occupation is hazardous for minors. So there's some talk this came from, he sent a link also. I think that's the link. It's in a different chat item. So I'm thinking it's the same one. Is that right, Lee?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So this statute says, and I'm used to reading it for in the context of like on the job training for districts. And there's a couple sentences at the beginning that you might see whether you fit in an additional category, that since you're not working with the district, but still offering a really important work-based learning opportunities to students. And yeah, so if a occupation is deemed to be hazardous for minors, provided the right structure, and it lists out what the requirements are pretty clearly, then students can still engage in that work.
Yeah, I think that's that the occupation, and it's not the organization. So there could be some occupations within that company, but there's often this kind of blanket, we don't hire anyone under what X age kind of thing from a company, just so they can move on to the next problem they've got, I guess, or whatever, but they don't want to go there to dig into those details. However, I would say that with people like Pete and Len, and there's some other employers that I know in the greater Tampa Bay area that hire students 16, 15, 14 even. They certainly might have particular positions they would like to put them in at those younger ages, but they do hire them. I think Roy at SMT recently had a couple of tours and hired 4 high school students right after the tours, kids that were interested in coming to work for a few hours a week at his facility, and they're all still in high school and all still teenagers, young teenagers. So it can be done. And walking to the sitting down with the employer, and trying to tease that out just might take time, Amber, just making them realize that it's not always against the law.
Yeah.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
Another real quick, just so you know, counties actually cover the interns for insurance while they're in your factory, as long as it's a approved internship program. At least Collier County, that was a hurdle for a lot of companies, saying, we have these young children in our factories or our businesses. They are actually covered under Collier County, which is a big relief for business owners, especially for those smaller business owners that are concerned about something happening in the work environment.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's become more and more available, more and more common. And a lot of a lot of education foundations are trying to support that kind of education to the business side. I think on that particular note, as well as other community organizations that are really interested in economic development, for example, in work-based learning for students and to help the companies, right? So Teresa has a message. It's time to wrap up. If anyone needs a certificate of attendance for credit, for professional development credit, please email her. And I want to thank everyone who's talked today. Thank you, Ernie, for the overview of FLATE, and Len and Pete for your great insights from industry, and Lee also for supporting us with the Department of Education with lots of tools available for free on your website, Department of Education. So this is an important part of education for every child, every student, and we definitely have to work hard to make more of it happen. So with that, I'll say thanks again, and any last thoughts, you can always email us. There'll be a recording notice coming out from Teresa in a few days. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks
you so
again.
much.